Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the 2028 presidential election. Yes, the presidential election that is 4 years out. We're going to be doing a potential matchup between Vice President Kamala Harris and Senator Tim Scott. Senator Scott is also rumored to potentially be one of President Trump's vice presidential running mates for his 2024 bid. But today we're ultimately going to be discussing who would be best fit in a way, according to voters, to serve as the next president in 2028, who would win this election in this matchup between Vice President Harris and Senator Scott. But ultimately, I'm going to start by characterizing states that I believe are going to go to Kamala Harris without a debate, really. And these, of course, are just in general districts that I believe Kamala Harris would be able to win pretty steadily, and I believe that Tim Scott would be able to win some of these states as well, which I will characterize for him in just a moment. But ultimately, this is a potential matchup that I believe could be a very likely one that we could see come 2028. Ultimately, it would depend on who won this election here in 2024, on who could win that, of course, but I believe that it's a matchup that we could see as a realistic possibility. Maybe not fully. I know some people are going to have their own opinions on that, but we'll talk about that as we continue throughout the video today. So right now, as it stands, Kamala Harris has 222 electoral votes, and Senator Scott has 219 with the states that I've already characterized. So I'm going to start by characterizing the state of North Carolina, just north of Senator Scott's home state. I believe that this state would go to Senator Scott. I don't believe that North Carolina would go to Vice President Harris. I just don't believe that her policies are popular enough in the state of North Carolina, nor is she popular enough to win that state overall in a 2028 matchup. I believe that Senator Scott would win that state pretty steadily. I believe that the margin would be pretty heavy against Kamala Harris. Of course, I am using today's factors in assuming this, as well as Vice President Harris is very unpopular across the nation. This isn't just in particular states. Of course, some states she is less popular than others, but of course, here, as it stands today, Senator Scott would be very well projected to win in the state of North Carolina. With that being said, Kamala Harris would win the state of New Hampshire, in my opinion. I just believe that the state is continuing to shift Democratic. Obviously, the last time that it was very, very close was 2016, but I don't even believe that it's a potential for a flip in 2024. So therefore, I don't believe that the possibilities of Kamala Harris losing the state are very likely. I think that Senator Scott would not be able to flip the state from Kamala Harris. So ultimately, New Hampshire going to Vice President Harris in this potential matchup as well. Next state I'm going to talk about is Georgia. This state is just south of Senator Scott's home state, and I do believe that Senator Scott would be able to win this state as well. This puts him at 251 electoral votes already, as the night has not even got close to being finished. We still have Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada to still go through, and he would only need roughly 2 of these states, depending on which states you look at, to win the presidency from here. Ultimately, though, I do believe that the state of Georgia would go to Senator Scott. I believe that that the population there just, again, would not vote for Kamala Harris. I believe that Kamala Harris is very unpopular amongst voters. I don't believe that she is going to be able to pick up a lot of key battleground states because of some of the specific voters that are needed in these key battleground states, the suburban women, and even some Black and Hispanic voters that I don't believe are going to be fully in favor of Kamala Harris in a potential matchup like this. The next state I'm going to be characterizing is the state of Wisconsin, which I also believe is going to go to Senator Scott by a pretty steady margin. I believe that the state continues to shift red, despite polling that we're seeing right now in the 2024 presidential election. Some polls do say that President Biden could win the state in 2024, and I have no doubt that he could. But I do believe that this state is one that the Democratic Party is watching very, very much, and they are very nervous about the state. Also, the Republican National Convention happening in the state of Wisconsin in 2024, I also think is a key sign to look at for the Republican Party really seeking to win this state overall. The next state, though, is the state of Michigan, and this could be a controversial opinion. I know some people would say that they believe that it's going to go to Senator Scott, but I believe in this matchup that Vice President Harris could win the state. Ultimately, I know that that could come across as maybe controversial, or maybe don't believe that, and I get where you're coming from, because I believe that the state would be very close if Kamala Harris was able to pull off a victory here. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Kamala Harris is just unpopular amongst voters here in the United States, and in a matchup where the Democratic Party picks her as the nominee, I just believe that the chances of them winning are pretty slim. But ultimately, in the state of Michigan, I am going to give that to Kamala Harris. The next state, though, is the state of Arizona, and I do believe that that's going to go to Senator Scott, which ultimately puts him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the next president in 2028. But we do still have two states to go over, and that's the state of Nevada and the state of Pennsylvania. And ultimately, I'm going to start with the state of Nevada, where I do believe that the Republican Party is putting a lot of money and resources, and I believe that the Republican Party ultimately believes that they have the chance and opportunity to flip the state in 2024. I think they're going to put the money in to try to do that, and I think that could benefit them in 2028 as well, where Senator Scott could win the state overall if he put in the resources. I believe that Kamala Harris would just, again, would be one of those states where Kamala Harris would not be able to ultimately perform well and would lose the state overall. The next state is the state of Pennsylvania, where ultimately President Biden did win this state back in 2020 by a pretty slim margin, and he's going to have to win it again in 2024. Obviously, it's not the only path to victory, but it is one that if he doesn't win, it's gotten a lot slimmer for the president of the United States. So obviously, this would be a key for the Kamala Harris campaign if they wanted to flip any other state to ultimately win this thing overall. But I do believe that Senator Scott would win this state as of today as it stands. I believe that Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania all are going to go to Senator Scott. I believe that the only key battleground that we're really going to see a potential possibility that Kamala Harris wins is the state of Michigan. So of course today is a potential matchup. We're 4 years out. We do not know who's going to be the Republican or Democratic nominee, and we do not know how any of these states are going to play out if this was the matchup. But ultimately, this is the prediction that I would give as of today for the Republican Party. I believe 297 electoral votes going to Senator Scott, 241 to Vice President Harris. So I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Like I said in the last video, I'm going to be trying to do more and more videos as we get closer to the 2024 presidential election. I need some video ideas. Do you all want to see more Senate elections? Do you want to see in-depth elections on specific states? Maybe the North Carolina gubernatorial election in 2024, or specific Senate elections in 2024. Do you all want to see specific House races? What do you all want to see overall? And I will try to make that happen so that I can get you all to keep watching and enjoying these videos. Give me your thoughts down in the comments down below. Do you believe that Kamala Harris could win more of these states? Do you believe that Senator Scott could win the state of Michigan? Let me know down below. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next video.